Hi, this is Chris Maloney. Let's talk about aerials. Aerials going up and aerials coming down, which means the ball is in the air at least. And there are three kinds of ways that a ball gets into the air, at least that I can think of. One is a lift. So the pip, the player in possession, puts their stick next to the ball and throws the ball into the air. That's the beginning of an aerial. But there are other ways the ball can get into the air. And it's interesting to include it in this discussion, I think. One is there's a hit, and the ball is hit into the air, which is legal on a shot, but illegal at other times. So we've got a lift, and we've got a hit, and then the other thing would be a deflection. Now, I'm not ignoring, by the way, a goalkeeper, but let's equate the lift with a goalkeeper punt, where they lift the ball up on their stick and then kick it into the air like a punt in American football. And let's equate a goalkeeper's clear with a hit. Different skills, lift and hit. And the deflection might be when the ball bounces up off of the goalkeeper. Okay, so on a lift, we have one thing to consider at the beginning, and that is whether or not the lift was safe. So I bring out my amazing board here. It's 2D. It's not 3D. Wish it was, but it's not. Actually, let's use this side. And we can therefore include the goalkeeper in the conversation. So let's say that there is a defender here, the player in possession, and they're going to do a lift. Wish I had a 3D board. And they're going to do a lift up to the 50, or if they're less successful, the 25. So have to see. Let's pretend that they're starting on the penalty stroke mark and they execute the lift. If it went up safely, in other words, maybe there was a defender nearby, but the ball went in this direction, well, then that defender is not at risk. But if they threw it in this direction and the defender, nearly lost their teeth, well, then that's dangerous. Let's go back to the aerials and say that if this went up safely, we are now completely finished with any consideration of the lift area. In other words, we're not going to penalize this player for lifting the ball safely. If it lands someplace else dangerously, we don't care. This was safe. We're done here. We're never bringing a lift back to the spot of origin if it left safely. Now, if it didn't leave safely, okay, now we've got a problem that we have to penalize because of dangerous play. What if this was a goalkeeper and they did a punt? So the goalkeeper, gets a pass from their teammate, flicks it up with their stick, and punts the ball into the air. We're going to equate that with a lift. If it left the goalkeeper safely and flew 50 yards, then we're done with this area. We're not going to bring the ball back here just because it was the goalkeeper. We're not going to bring the ball back here just because it was a deep defender if the origin of the lift was safe. If, however, this defender, I've got too many pens, hits the ball, right? They hit the ball into the air. They didn't mean to, but they did it. They didn't slip. It was intentional. And it nearly takes the teeth out of this player here, right? We're not going to restart play here where the player ducked or, got hit in the head. We're going to restart play by penalizing the situation that started it that was inside the circle. Now, in this case, it's a common foul. We would restart with a penalty corner, not a penalty stroke. If this red player was the goalkeeper and they kicked it, again, we're going to equate a hit with a kick. If they kicked it and it went into the air and it nearly took off the head of a player that's outside the 25, we're not going to give the ball to the defense out here at the 25. I mean, sorry, the attack out here at the 25, are we? No, we're going to penalize the goalkeeper for the kick that they made from inside the circle. Now, if it was a field player who was out here, same type of thing. They hit the ball, it goes into the air, and it nearly takes the head off of a player who is here or, 20 yards away. Doesn't really matter. If it goes up and it nearly kills somebody, then it's a dangerous hit. It left the ground here and it was a hit. It's not a lift. It's not covered by the aerial rules. Then that's a problem that is penalized, not here, but where the ball took off. Now, what if there is a defender here and they deflect the ball and it nearly takes this player's head off? Well, we don't blame a defender for almost killing another defender. So that deflection doesn't matter. If instead that, however, was another attacker, this hit came racing along the ground and this player deflected it up, it's not an aerial, it's not a lift, it's a deflection. And that is categorized just like a hit. So what do? What caused the danger? It wasn't here where this player was forced to duck. That is not against the rules. It was here where the deflection took place. So we give the ball to the black team up here where the red team caused the deflection. That deflection is similar to a ball bouncing off the goalkeeper. So now here's the goalkeeper. They're, minding the goal cage and making sure that nothing goes in. The ball is slammed into them and it deflects off of them. Running out of ink here, sorry. It deflects off of them and nearly takes off the head of this defender on the black team. We penalize that deflection by where the defender was or the goalkeeper. It's based on where the goalkeeper put it up on a deflection. What if this player, which would be a penalty corner, what if that player was out here and the goalkeeper made some crazy save and it deflected and nearly took off this player's head? Well, that would be really crazy because by the time the ball gets out here, it's not dangerous anymore. But let's just defy the laws of physics for a second to make the point. So if it nearly took this player out, then we wouldn't blame that deflection off the goalkeeper in such a way that it restarts out here. No, we would penalize the goalkeeper back here. Penalty corner. So we've eliminated that this area is a problem because the lift was safe. And now we've got the ball coming down the lift, remember the lift, and we've got the ball coming down anywhere on this field. It doesn't really matter. The lift was done legally, it wasn't dangerous, and pick a spot, the ball is coming down here. Okay? Now we have situations that are here, and there's a ton of rules about a ball, a falling ball, being received by either team here. If there's a foul over here, this is the main point I was trying to make, then we're going to restart play here. We're not going to go back here and restart play because somebody played dangerously here. We're going to assess the foul of a lift, an aerial, not a hit, not a deflection, where it comes down if that's where the foul took place. So if the attack fouled down in this space, if the red attack fouled, then the black team would get the ball here and start their free hit process. If the defense fouled, the black team, then the attack would get the ball here. But again, we are not concerned with the liftoff anymore. That's done. It was safe. We're finished with this area, and now we're just worried about here. Now, it is best practice, if this is a mess here before the ball lands, you as the umpire can blow the whistle before the ball lands and assess a penalty against the team that is causing the problem. If there's 15 players inside that little circle, okay, it's not clear who the receiver would have been, the initial receiver, then we're going to blame the team that put the ball up on a lift, and we're going to give possession against that team. But again, it could be the player on the defending team that maybe rushes in here and causes problems for the initial receiver, and then we're going to give it to the initial receiver. Again, it's better if we can judge that something's going to go wrong before it gets there. And that's just guesswork, but we're trying to keep the game safe at that point. If there's just two players, let's watch and see who plays safely. Was it the red team that was going to receive it first? And is that clear? Was it the black team? And is that clear? If it's not clear, if you had to think about it, okay, then we're going to blame the team that put it up and we're going to go against them in the landing zone. So we got the launch pad, we got the landing zone. Hey, if you have any questions, please let us know.